So I'm Coach Chris Gibson. This is my bulk body here. I've gained about 35 pounds in the past 4 months since Andy did my last photo shoot. So this is what I'm working with right now at about 212 fasted in the morning. We're gonna go through a shoulder workout today. So with shoulders, definitely wanna hit all heads of the delts, get some compound movements in there as well. You'll see that I like to start with rear delts. Reason is it warms up the shoulder, but also the rear delt is often underdeveloped for most people. So it just creates that round look, that 3D look a lot more, especially from the side. So we start with rear delts. It serves two purposes: warms it up, and then rear delts are usually underdeveloped. And then I like to go into my compound movement directly after that. So you want to do a compound movement towards the beginning of the workout. However, since rear delts are typically lagging, I'll do them first, and again, warm up good with the rear delts before the compound. So rear delts and then a pressing movement, and then I kind of move on to like the front delt, the lateral delt. Typically I'll do traps at the end just because a lot of times they are tight, overdeveloped, and I just kind of throw them in there and really stretch them out good at the end. So this workout that we're going through today is basically what I do, especially right now. This is what I'm doing for shoulders. Other than that, enjoy it. Let me know if you have questions. Thank you. So this is one of my favorite rear delt exercises. Mostly pay attention to the position of my elbows and the range of motion. So I'm just lying on an incline bench. I'm gonna keep my elbows turned in here, or turned out. I see a lot of people come out here. So you want your elbows, basically the insides of your elbows pointing towards each other. And then play around with the range of motion. You definitely don't want to come all the way up here because it starts working your back. So stop right in there somewhere, wherever you can feel it most in that rear delt. All right, so we got rear delts here. One thing you want to make sure is the height of the seat. You want your hand about the same height as your shoulder. So I may go a little bit lower the seat. All right, we're gonna send the shoulder blades forward. So the range of motion is very important here. You don't want to come all the way back. We're just going to really start working your back. So you want to try to keep the back as still as possible, where you're just using those rear delts, and insides of your elbows are pointed towards each other. So you don't want to have them all turned around. And just play around with it. Might do a little more range of motion or a little less. Whatever you can do to get the most blood pumping through that rear delt. So this is one of my favorite medial side delt exercises because you can get a little bit of a stretch on the delt by coming behind the back. You never want to go too high up, so you want to come about parallel, well, what would be parallel with the ground if you were standing forward, but I'm actually leaning into it a little bit, which just helps me get a little bit of a different stretch. I like to do these till failure, and then sometimes I'll crank out some partial reps once I get to failure at the bottom. And that's with a lot of exercises. I'll actually crank out partials at the bottom after I get to failure. All right, so this is for front delts. So you're just lying on a seated row machine. You have to get your feet in a position where you can get full stretch at the bottom. You want to come right about to your face, hold for a sec, Once I start failing out, I'll kind of do a little momentum to do a cheat rep to get it to the top, but still hold it and go slow on the negative. All right, so we're gonna do an upright row right here. A lot of times the upright row can be dangerous, cause shoulder impingement, elbow issues. So what you'll see, and the way I used to do them, it's kind of like this. That's actually not good. So you wanna come wider. And now my elbow doesn't come any higher than my shoulder, so it comes parallel to my shoulder. And notice the position of my wrist. Like, I'll see some people with their wrists way out here. You actually want to keep your wrist about as close to under your elbow as you can. So I'll actually start by kind of rolling my shoulders forward a little bit. It's doing them like this, just coming up to your chest, really hits the side delt. All right, so we're gonna do some traps. So we're gonna do shrugs. The way I like to do shrugs is kind of play around with different grips to see what you feel the most. And also think about a stretch too, because a lot of people's traps are very tight and they're actually trap dominant in a lot of movements. So a lot of times it's more important to get the stretch in the shrug than it is to actually activate the trap, because they're so over dominant, they're getting worked in many other exercises. So if you kind of come a little wider and then just really sit at the bottom and just play around with the position of your sternum, play around with shrugging back here versus forward here, and even the grip. Go forward here, back here, or even a reverse grip. This one's all about what feels the best for your body. And I always, when I get done with the shrug, like to do a little trap stretch at the end. Might not do this if you got 4 plates on each side. But you definitely want to stretch those traps out, because they'll take a lot of, they'll take over a lot of movements. A lot of people press like this with their traps instead of like this with their chest. Same thing with rows. You'll see a lot of people row with their traps instead of with their lats and their rhomboids. So that's it for traps. Just whatever grip feels best for you, and stretch them for sure.